ask you, Barry, but I think you've just answered the question. In hindsight, would you like to think you called it wrong after the Celtic game?
No, I said that. I just said that, Derek. If you listen, I think the board.
Yes, I listened. But 4 games down the line, if you watch the last 4 games, the style of football we were watching was taking back 20 years.
Well, I'll still go in what I said, Derek, after the game. I think the board made the right decision. We keep Michael Beale as manager after the Celtic game. Now, if you're going to come on and try and argue, that's up to you.
Well, at the end of the day, it's probably cost Rangers the championship, because if they sacked him that night, they might not be 7 points.
Right, there's still 31 games to go.
4 points is catchable. 7, I would think, is probably not catchable.
But it's still possible.
Yes, it's still possible, but at the end of the day, he should have been sacked that night. He should have been sacked in the pre-season games. The style of football we've been watching this year is absolutely dreadful. And see the new manager that comes in, he wants to strip the captaincy off James Tavernier. That man is an absolute coward as a Rangers captain. His defending on Saturday was disgraceful, and trying to cower away from the fans on Saturday night is not a Rangers captain. And it should be stripped to the Rangers captain. The new manager's first suggestion wants to strip James Tavernier and strip some of the duds that he's got there. Connor Goldson should be sold at the first transfer window. Absolute dreadful defender.
Barry, what about the captain's position? With hindsight, maybe he would have changed it in the summer. What would you do?
No, I said in the summer, I wouldn't have changed it. Listen, it's all about opinion. Derek's got a totally different opinion from me. That's fine. But my opinion was I wouldn't have changed it.
And
a new manager coming in, he might look at it in a different. Derek, let me speak. Let me speak.
Right.
So a manager might come in and have a different opinion. So he might change it. He might see it right to make a change as captain. So we need to see who that manager is. And if he comes in, then bearing in mind, he can't just get rid of these players. These players are in contracts. The players that brought in the summer on 3-4 year contracts. James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, I think I've got another 2 years after this season. You just can't just get rid of players. They have got contracts.
And Mark, have you ever seen a situation where, as Derek would want, 2 months ago, sack Michael Beale before the season started because of what he'd seen? But it was his players that were chosen. So that's what I asked earlier. Where does the buck stop? Who chooses the manager? And this is such a vital choice coming up in the coming weeks. Who's going to be in the hot seat?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to Derek. I mean, and that's his opinion.
Yeah, sure.
He watches them every week. I take it that Derek goes to the games, which is fine. But I think they've been really, really harsh had you sacked him, in the summer, or sacked him 2 or 3 games into the season. I think the warning signs were there. Very much the Kilmarnock game, the first league game of the season, and then the PSV and Celtic back to back. He was a dead man walking from that day onwards. Now, the manager's job, Paul, I've always said it, and I think we all agree, the manager's job is the most important job at the football club. Now, I don't want to keep comparing it across the road to Celtic, but ultimately Celtic's a benchmark. They have been dominant for more than a decade. Why they've been dominant? Because most of the time we've had right good managers. Look at their last 2. Now, nobody heard Ange Postecoglou. You can say they landed a wee bit lucky. Whatever the circumstances, because Eddie Howe didn't take it, they got themselves a top manager that won 5 out of 6 trophies. They've replaced him with an elite manager who's won countless trophies and won them in this part of the world. They were highly paid guys, particularly Brendan Rodgers is probably the highest paid guy in the whole of Scottish football. Rangers need to go and try and find someone like that. So don't mess about. You look at some of the players that are probably given 30-40 grand a week to, then go and find a manager and see if you need to give him 3 million a year. Go and find it, because you've got plenty of wastage that you could try and get short of on that wage bill. The other thing about Rangers is, Paul, it's not just about the manager, it's the structure of the football club. Now, we believe that 2 or 3 of the scouts are going, John Brown, Billy Kirkwood, people like that. They don't have a director of football. I think ultimately, with hindsight, and I said it in the summer, I think that was a mistake. I think Michael Beale took too much on his plate. Now, whether that was enforced, but you need to find, so there needs to be key appointments made within the football department, and maybe within the whole of the football club, but certainly in the football department, to make you function properly. Because right now, if we're going to be brutally honest, Rangers are miles away from Celtic on and off the park, and it needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. It can't happen overnight. In terms of captaincy, I think James Tavernier has been a brilliant servant for Rangers. I think he's stepped up, scored a lot of important goals, a lot of assists. But if I'm the new manager, I would have a conversation with James and ask him, to be honest, do you want to be the captain, or do you find it a bit of a burden? And there's nothing wrong with the fact that, you know what, I've done my time, maybe look at somebody else. And for me, there's two candidates to be the next manager, the next captain of Rangers, and that's Jack Butland or John Souttar. Give it to the one of the two of them and let them go and take the armband. If James Tavernier feels that he'd rather have it taken off him.
Barry, what would you say on that?
Yeah, it's all about having a conversation. That'll be the new manager's decision to go and sit down. That's naturally what a new manager does when he comes into a new team. He'll sit with the captain and the more experienced players. And listen, it's worth having a chat with him. Is he feeling the weight on his shoulders? And then have a chat and make that decision. I don't think you should come in without even talking to him.
No.
You can't do that. That's not the way.
You'll lose him if you do
that.
That
ain't the way to operate. But if you want to sit down and have a chat and see how he's feeling in terms of going forward, then they might come to a decision.